Is the neighborhood I'm having my twins.
The very reason why I took it for us. See, the price is very good and it's spacious to contain all of us.
Alphabet City. Now I'm a landlord. I don't pay rent. And my Airbnb business is booming.
To me, Pamini, bank and I'm in Alphabet City. The pension pay me 20%. The payment plan, I want to share my man. Just say, very smooth.
This is a healthy place to raise our families and creating peace. Come on, be my neighbor.
Alphabet City, the ABC of Home Sweet Home.
Alphabet City is a classy and peaceful gated community in Sakomono. We have 24/7 top-notch security and high-quality access roads. We have 3 bedrooms and 2 washrooms, 3 bedrooms and 3 washrooms with boys' quarters. We have 3 bedrooms and 4 washrooms. We have 2 bedrooms and 2 washrooms, all with beautiful kitchens and kitchenettes. Call Alphabet City on 0240-111119 or 050-44-99999. Alphabet City, the ABC of Home Sweet Home.
Just gone by, the convener for the Pensioners Bondholders Association just addressed the gathering. They were here this morning to picket against what they call injustice. They just sang the national anthem because they say that the finance ministry is trying to rope in their pension funds. They've been asking for exemption from the DDE since its inception, but they are not getting that. And this morning they came here to picket against the decision by the finance ministry not to exempt them. I will try and speak to a few of. What exactly are you asking from the ministry?
We want the government to have total exemption of pensioners who have invested in government bonds. We were told, I was told by my 2 banks, that is the safest. And I work hard and save and bought government bond. And what we're saying is that total exemption, nothing less, nothing more.
We still want
very simple, total exemption from DDEP.
Even if government gives you new terms, you still want to accept.
That is the only term we understand. Total exemption. You've exempted pensioners. You've exempted pension funds. We are pensioners. Take us out. It's the same logic.
What if the government does not exempt you?
We say we'll be here tomorrow, so come and interview us tomorrow.
Very agitated pensioner bondholder who is part of the Pensioner Bondholders Forum. They want complete exemption from their domestic debt exchange program, and if that does not happen, they will continue to picket here every morning until the ministry listens to their plea. What if government decides that it will not exempt pensioners?
We will sleep here. We will sleep here.
Is that even possible?
You will see it. With our mats and our co-pots, we'll come and sleep here. The investment I made is what I used to buy my drugs. I don't have a salary. I have paid my dues. Why do you have to use my pension money? What are you doing? You say sacrifice. And it's only pensioners, a responsible person, who say that we use pensioners' money for their animal called domestic debt exchange program. What sacrifice have they made? This is wickedness. What is this? And the most annoying thing is, they did not even engage us. You not ask anybody anything. My own money, the money that you have used, whatever they used it for, only God knows.
So in your shot is the finance ministry who has just come down from his office to personally meet the pensioner bondholders. He's trying to engage them one after the other. The pensioners actually dispersed, and the minister ordered for them to be brought back so that he can personally have a word with him. And so now we'll listen to what the minister has to say.
The challenge that we have, as you all know, is that we need by the end of March or middle March to have concluded with our IMF program. This is an important part of that program for us, the debt exchange. And then we had various issues. We have therefore in this period engaged the banks and financial institutions, and I think we've come a long way in which we expect a full tendering tomorrow when the tender closes. Then we also had engagements of individual bondholders, including yourselves, and Dr. Duanani really represented you guys extremely well, because we were at a 0% interest, in which it was a 12-year, 15-year bond. Okay, so he articulated your specific issues, and we reduced it from 12, 15 years to 5 years. Okay, so that accommodating that, even though we know that over a third of you have bonds that are beyond the 5 years, as we sit today, 12 years and up. So we brought it to the 5 years, okay? Then we looked at it and said, look, on average, to be honest with everybody and everybody knowing the numbers, the return on your bonds is about 18.5%. On average, okay? So looking at all of the categories, we say, well, these are retirees. Let's include those 59 who will be 60 this year and give them 15%. So the fight that we are presumably fighting here is the difference between 15 and 18.5%. The cost of that may be that we may not get an IMF clearance. And then your issues of inflation, capacity to pay, takes on a different hue.
In response to the minister's plea, convener for the Pensioners Bondholders Forum, Dr. Edu Anane Entry, explained why the terms offered by government are not good enough.
If you have 30% on your as coupon, you are now going to get 15. So half of your income is gone. If you are on 25, you are going to get 15, and almost about 40% or 45% of your income is gone. That is how it is. People who are on 20 will be losing about 5% because it's giving you 15 now. Nobody is gaining anything. Everybody is losing. Even people who are on the lowest, the whole forum. We will send this to the forum. This is what the minister has said. And I believe whatever the forum says will be what we are taking up.
The fourth deadline for the Domestic Debt Exchange Program expires tomorrow, February 7. And earlier today, the Individual Bondholders Association of Ghana released a statement essentially accusing the finance minister of reneging on his promise to honor the old bonds. Martin Kwebu is lawyer for the group.
Just about 8 days ago, on the 30th of January, Mr. Ken Oforiatta, Minister for Finance, publicly confirmed his earlier promise to us that existing bonds will be honored. Charles, that's the word, existing bonds will be honored. And it's coming from the Minister for Finance. So from 30th January, and then just on the Friday 3rd February, then the minister makes a U-turn, doesn't even address us, doesn't issue a statement. So the second amendment looked like it was faked. So when it even came out on Friday evening, some said, no, forget about this, and it's a draft. Yes, because that U-turn couldn't have happened. Monday, at least, the official confirmation of honoring existing bonds came. So Friday, there can't be a U-turn like that without any explanation to us directly. So the statement is even very mild. It tells you that Ken Ofori-Atta doesn't know much in governance. He doesn't know much. You can't treat people like that. He's trying to use scaremongering tactics. That's not governance. These bonds and the coupons are what we depend on to pay rent, to pay school fees, buy medication, to eat, that's to live on, etc. So when you bring in any policy that seeks to deprive people of these bonds, in order for you to go get an IMF program, and especially so that you also go ahead with your developmental project, it means that you are killing human beings in order to apparently develop. That's not development.
As part of efforts to ensure Ghana restores macroeconomic stability and secure a 3 billion bailout from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, government launched the Domestic Debt Exchange Program as part of a broader response to macroeconomic challenges last year. Since the announcement, the program has faced stiff opposition with groups like Organized Labour, the minority in Parliament and the Ghana Individual Bondholders Forum, raising concerns about how the program will bring frustration on investors and deprive them of their returns on investment. This pushed government to extend the deadline for 4 times. During the 4th time, government introduced new terms and a final exchange memorandum. In the second amended and restated exchange memorandum of the program, government noted that it is not likely to pay an over 4 billion 5-year bond maturing on February 6th, a move the individual bondholders have rejected. Addressing the nation virtually, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta warned that non-participation in the DDE by individual bondholders will prolong efforts by government to revive the economy.
On the back of these recent developments, the comprehensive agreement of the key stakeholders and the enhancement of the DDEP, Government 1 expects the full participation of institutional stakeholders and mobilization of all qualified investors to ensure the success of the debt exchange operation. And 2, encourages eligible individual holders to voluntarily tender their holdings. Frankly, fellow citizens, non-participation or a lower than expected turnout for the DDEP will prolong efforts to resolve the current economic crisis. In addition, the prospects of international financial support and other financial assurances will be jeopardized. The development could further put strain and stress on government's capacity to honor key commitments. This is not what we want for our economy. What we want is an economy that is back on track, stable, vibrant, productive, dynamic, meeting the needs of individuals, households, and enterprises, delivering shared and inclusive growth and improving incomes and livelihoods.
He also hinted that there will be no further extensions as February 7, 2023 is the final deadline for institutions and individuals to sign up onto the program.
Tomorrow is the final deadline for this program, and we are hopeful that all domestic investors will participate. Let me restate that as a government, our singular motivation for taking this rather difficult road is to restore macroeconomic stability, achieve debt sustainability, and get the economy fully back on track. We know that these are necessary preconditions for creating jobs, safeguarding and enhancing incomes, fostering inclusive growth, and restoring hope to Ghanaians. Through collective hard work and discipline, coupled with the abiding and abundant grace of the Almighty God, we have been focused on avoiding a full-blown economic crisis.
Meanwhile, government has granted bondholders a 3-day administrative window to complete processes for tendering their bonds. The move comes after government learned of technical challenges faced by some bondholders who try to complete the online tender process. A statement issued by the Ministry of Finance noted that the window ends at 4 p.m. on February 10, 2023. This move is in response to the terms of exchange as amended pursuant to the second amended and restated exchange memorandum. The statement also noted that the timetable of the exchange remains unaffected except for the announcement date, which is now Monday, February 13th. Accordingly, the settlement of the exchange remains the scheduled date of Tuesday, February 14, 2023. The statement also reminded bondholders who could not complete the process to visit the website of the Central Securities Depository at www.csd.com.gh.dde to complete the process.
The government is embarking on a debt restructuring program in order to enable it access a $3 billion loan from the IMF. The loan will help restore fiscal stability and end the country's ongoing economic woes. Although the program has been met with widespread criticisms, especially by bondholders, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, insists it is the only solution to save the country. He has entreated all bondholders to sign onto the program. However, an economist, Professor Godfred Bobkin, has refuted these claims by government, saying the debt exchange program will rather aggravate the economic crisis as more jobs would be lost.
The debt restructuring, if it goes through, the implications are quite obvious, even now and for the foreseeable future. With time and as the effect of the debt exchange settles through the system, those qualitative observations begin to take on quantitative dimensions. So, for instance, given the banks that have signed up, cumulatively, the liquidity losses in the books of the banks would exceed 6 billion cedis. What that means is that amount of credit that these banks could have given to borrowers, private sector, to expand their businesses and create jobs will no longer be available for lending. So there's going to be a credit squeeze. In terms of the impairment losses on the books of the banks, we are looking at something close to 30% in net present value terms on the books of those participating financial institutions or banks. Again, that has implications for liquidity and also credit lending or lending to the private sector that is actually supposed to be the engine of growth. The idea is that the negative information characterizing the debt exchange and all of that, it also signals a certain state of the economy, right? And essentially depresses the net worth of firms, with negative implications for investment, growth, and employment generation.
On his part, an economist and professor of finance at the University of Cape Coast, Professor John Gachi, has also raised concerns about the continuous silence of the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, who is also the head of government economic management team on the debt exchange program.
It is a fact that the Vice President has been very minimal on the matter. And in fact, it is not clear whether he has made any frantic statement about the debt exchange program. So it's as if it is for Finance Minister and the President. He is somehow excluded, but that is not supposed to be the case, even though I don't think that the economic management team has that constitutional right. But the Vice President was chosen because of his economic prowess, his economic powers, his understanding of the economy. That's why he was chosen, and that has been touted several times. So when economic management issues come up and the Vice President is distancing himself from it, it should be a matter of concern to Ghanaians. But I believe it's also part of the politics, internal politics going on. The Vice President is trying to avoid talking about the economy. Pitching camp with digitalization. so that he will use that for campaign. But he cannot run away from the economy. The economy is in a mess. He should be seen trying to, address the issues.
Representing the Finance Minister, a deputy, Madam Abna Osayasari made these remarks in a virtual presentation at the opening of the 2023 annual stakeholder meeting of the State Interest and Governance Authority (SIGA) at Kwaun-Kwetia in the Eastern Region. Mrs. Osayasari said the government would move to external debt holders after drawing the curtains on the DDEP.
Government has responded decisively to the crisis by adopting various measures to reset the economy and restore macroeconomic stability. In connection with this, government has adopted the Post-COVID-19 Program for Economic Growth, PCP, anchored on a 7-point agenda, namely aggressively mobilizing domestic revenue, streamlining and rationalizing expenditures, boosting local productive capacity, promoting and diversifying exports, protecting the poor and vulnerable, expanding digital and climate-responsive fiscal infrastructure, and lastly, implementing structural and public sector reforms.
On his part, the Minister for Public Enterprises, Honorable Joseph Kujo, who indicated that the Ministry of Finance may no longer be in the position to issue checks to agencies challenged or heads to be sensitive to the current economic situation and adopt strategic management skills. He noted that the state ownership policy, which is being discussed at the final stages for approval, is intended to harmonize the Public Financial Management Act with SIGA Act to address all ambiguities and inconsistencies identified over the years. Management of SIGA are optimistic that all the objectives of the two-day stakeholder engagement will be achieved to enhance the delivery of all SOEs going forward. Ambassador Edward Boateng is the Director General of SIGA.
Just 2 years ago, if you look at the national accounts, only five SOEs were presenting their accounts, and that contributed very minimal. Last year, 2022, we were able to push it to 47, and that itself, without even increasing productivity, their contribution came to about 21%. So it's also about the paperwork, it's also about the processes, it's also about making sure that we capture everything in our national accounting. We have not been doing a good job of that as a nation. And that is what we are hoping to do with these new processes that we are putting in place.
There are certain barriers that may help explain why business foundations aren't devoting more funding to capacity building. Many have lamented the current macroeconomic challenges, such as high inflation and the hike in the monetary policy rate, as having negative impact on the growth of the business environment. In a media interaction on the sidelines of the Hollard Street Wise Challenge at the University of Ghana, the Dean of the Business School, Professor Justice Bawale, said the current macroeconomic conditions in the country can stifle the effort being made by young entrepreneurs.
I think the first critical condition for any successful business, is the macroeconomic environment in which you operate. And I have said many times that often we would urge young people to create businesses and try them as we're doing today. But they go out there, and after a year or two, the businesses collapse. And it has to do with the kind of ecosystem that the businesses get to operate in. If you have high inflation, unavailable capital, or very high cost of capital, rental is huge, and people must have a place where their business can be physically located, and what have you, it becomes very difficult for people to survive, especially young people. But it is not impossible In other jurisdictions, it's happened. And one of the ways by which that can happen is for young people to know how to package their ideas and their business. Because the banks have money that belongs to people also. So if a bank must give you money, they must be sure that the money will get back to them in the way that they can pass on to the person who gave them. All in all, macroeconomic environment we do not have control over. The ability to scale those challenges and obstacles we are able to teach. And that is what we do best.
Following the free fall of the Ghanaian cedi in the previous year, the prices of some consumables, including pharmaceutical products, have still not seen a marginal decrease. In an interview with Citi Business News, the president of the Pharmaceutical Importers and Wholesalers Association of Ghana, Dr. William Edum Adu, attributed the price hikes to the spillovers from 2022 when the cedi performed poorly against the US dollar.
There's been a little price hike with some of the products because, this year the VAT increment has kicked in. Nobody is enjoying the benchmark value discounts any longer. So now we are paying 100% tax on the product. Previously we had some relief by paying, let's say, 50%. And they reviewed it, and now they reviewed it fully to 100%. So let's say if you used to pay 70 or 80 cedis, just for example, now you'll be paying 100 cedis because now you are not giving any relief. And maybe that may be the contributing factor to the price differential currently. And I can confidently say that the hike is not as much as when the cedi depreciated seriously against the major foreign currencies. To the consumers, I want to assure them that we'll try as much as possible to ensure that we'll maintain good prices that will be affordable and at the same time ensure that always they get very high quality products from the pharmacies.
He also lamented the negative impact the recent increment of the monetary policy rate by the Bank of Ghana is having on their businesses.
For every business institution, your main headache, apart from the cost of the product, is your overhead. And most of us rely on the banks heavily for financing. So once the policy rate goes up, definitely the interest rate will also go up from our banks. Whenever price the policy changes like this, it definitely affects your overhead cost. And definitely it's not a pleasant thing. And the cost of doing business also goes up. And it affects even the kind of imports you can do because you need more money to do all these imports. So once your overhead cost also goes up, then you have to have some balancing act in place to stay afloat. So once the highs goes like that, definitely it's going to affect prices in a way. But we just hope that because the cedi is a bit stable now, it may not affect it much. But should it change, I pray it changes for the better. But if it becomes worse, then definitely, and the interest rate also remains that high, then definitely it's going to hit the prices.
A key feature of the 2023 budget was the many policies introduced to increase the government's domestic revenue mobilization efforts. Some of these programs include the increment of the VAT rate by 2.5% to directly support the roads and digitalization agenda, the implementation of the Unified Property Rate Platform program, which will be fast-tracked this year. The Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, indicated that the income tax regime will undergo reforms in 2023, which will include a review of the upper limits for vehicle benefits and the introduction of an additional income tax bracket of 35%. A freeze was also placed on new tax waivers for foreign companies Also, tax exemptions for free zones, mining and oil and gas companies were to be reviewed. The electronic transfer levy, on the other hand, was also reduced from 1.5% to 1% in a bid to increase compliance. All these efforts, the government hopes, will help steer the economy back on track, as it also seeks an IMF bailout program, particularly as Ghana has been cut off from the international market due to its unstable debt levels. Tax consultant Dr. Alex Ampabing stresses that government will have to change its approach to be able to raise the needed revenue.
When you talk about revenue generation, it's not an emergency. It's not an emergency. What you expect is that as the economy grows, the Revenue Authority, through the government, should be able to tell which sectors are the potentials for generating revenue.
What then should be the posturing of government as it works to improve the country's financial position? Gordon Dade is a senior tax consultant with auditing firm KPMG.
What you want to see the GRA doing is to partner businesses. When you hear the taxman, you want to run away. But if the GRA becomes a partner to the businesses, they try to get close to them, they try to understand their pain points. I think that will go a long way to get them closer to you. But if they see you as a policeman coming there with a cane, coming there to close their shop and close their offices, I think they always want to find nice ways of moving away. So for us, we want to see the GRA getting very close to the taxpayers. Doing more tax education, holding more stakeholder engagements.
Commenting on the other options the government could consider in its revenue mobilization effort, Dr. Ampabing believes effectively collecting property rates could be a solution.
If you work out the annual rateable value, how much do you think government should be making per property based on the valuation? Because the property tax you pay is based on the value or the annual rateable value of the property. So if government has to take property taxation serious, this 2 billion the VAT is supposed to raise, government could raise over 10 times that amount, and possibly IMF would not have been necessary.
On the other hand, Mr. Dade sees an opportunity in the informal sector.
The GRA, in terms of posture, they need to invest a lot to understand the business models that these guys are doing there. So it's not enough to say I want to tax them, but it's about also understanding the business operating models. How are they operating? Today, the brick and mortar type of business is almost fading away. People have their shops in their boots, in their car boots, in their movies. Some of them also have their shops in their bedrooms, but they advertise online. So how would you understand the operations? So GRA needs to actually invest into data and analytics.
Roses are red, violets are blue, Valentine's is approaching, so get ready for Shades of Love 2. Shades of Love with Aquaba 2023 is here again. Get your shade of red or pink outfit ready. Hit up your special one and plan a night of unbelievable fun and a whole lot of love. Listening to Aquaba's back-to-back hits. Shades of Love 2023 with Aquaba will be the night to remember for all those who love love, and happening in both Accra and in Kumasi. Date on Valentine's Day, the 14th of February 2023 at La Palm Royal Beach Hotel in Accra, and on the 18th of February at Ike's Cafe and Grill in Kumasi. Tickets are going for VVIP for 400 Ghana cedis, VIP for 300 Ghana cedis, standard tickets for 200 Ghana cedis, and for table bookings and cabanas and all enquiries, kindly call 027-227-7757. Get your tickets at the
Citi TV and Citi FM, Joy FM, YFM, Accra Mall, Eliza's Restaurant, Joli Junction, Metro TV, La Palm Royal Beach Hotel.
Shades of Love with Aquaba 2023. It will be awesome. Media partners.
Powered by
Think Media Expert.
Earlier this week, Deputy Energy Minister Andrew Ejapa-Mensah revealed that the initial consignment of 40,000 tons of fuel brought into the country under the Gold for Oil policy was purchased with cash. His disclosure follows several calls from various stakeholders such as the former President John Dramani Mahama asking government to send the Gold for Oil agreement to Parliament for scrutiny and approval since the deal is an international financial transaction. Also, industry experts such as the Institute of Energy Security and COPEC also earlier called for government to disclose the quantity of gold it exchanged for the 40,000 metric tons of fuel as they raised questions over the viability of the deal. In an interview with Citi News, Nana Mwisi VII, Executive Director of the IES, said the entire policy lacks transparency, hence government must come clean.
The standing was made that we'll use gold in exchange for fuel, but the mode of payment was that government made us understood that they will mop up gold here in Ghana in cedis terms and exchange that gold for oil or fuel. Yes, there was also the indication that they could also give the gold to somebody who is not a fuel trader. Then the person will pay the trader that they will source the fuel from. And so from the very onset, government must needed to be clear to Ghanaians that, look, for the first parcel I'm bringing in, I am monetizing the gold in my reserve to bring it in. But then everybody's mind was like, it's gold that you're going to use to exchange for fuel. At this point, it comes to really, confirm our position that there's a lot of opacity in this transaction and that government might produce that clarity on the whole arrangement. And we are asking questions. Who is the person going to supply the fuel? What's the capacity of the person? If there's going to be an intermediary in this whole arrangement, who is the intermediary?
The IES director, however, rubbished calls for the cancellation of the deal.
We at IES always take a cue from past incidents when it comes to barter trading. We've mentioned the Iran 1990-1995 oil for food program. It was laced. It was, frost with wastage and corruption. We won't call for a cancellation of the policy if government can provide that transparency and clarity so that we can all tell whether it will produce value. If it will produce value, we will be in support. But if it cannot produce any value for the Ghanaian, then of course, immediately it must be halted, so that this doesn't add on to our fiscal burdens as a country.
He also called on government to revive the Tema oil refinery to decrease the importation of oil into the country. He believes that the country must rather focus on the local production of petroleum products while encouraging private sector investments in the refinery business.
IES still stand by its position that affordable and secure supply of fuel start from within. We must give priority to our own domestic resources, our crude oil, give priority to our own domestic refinery. We cannot give priority to importation over our own domestic assets and resources. And we think that this is where government must direct its attention to. Why come into the business of a $400 million business every month when you could rather engage the private sector to support a oil refinery to begin to correct the weaknesses in the system, provide the needed capital to revamp toll and make it operational so that we can continue on seeing constant supply of fuel on the market. We can continue seeing other industries working on the back of a working toll and also producing more engineers for the country.
Meanwhile, the Association of Oil Marketing Companies is calling on government to introduce a fair and balanced mechanism to distribute the fuel brought under the policy to avoid any form of discrimination and ensure fairness to all licensed parties. The association noted that the current mechanism allows for arbitrary selection of BIDEX and by extension OMCs to benefit from the program. The association in a statement also noted that the fact that this mechanism is intended to force players to reduce prices at the pumps creates some form of arbitrariness which will eventually distort the market and create an uneven playing field. This comes after Deputy Energy Minister Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam called on the NPA to be more vigilant in ensuring that the OMCs adhere to the framework that will be published to govern the pricing of fuel products received from the Gold for Oil policy. He noted that though 27 oil marketing companies received the products from the first consignment of the fuel shipment under the policy, only 15 reduced their prices at the pumps. The statement issued by the association also notes that a discussion of the implementation of this innovation and any others in the industry with all stakeholders will go a long way to ensure the success of the program.
Since January this year, staff groups of the Northern Electricity Distribution Company, Netco, have been demanding the removal of the Managing Director, Osman Aludba Ayuba. The group stated, among other things, the dwindling finances of the company since Mr. Ayuba took office 3 years ago. The board of directors of the company has held a series of meetings with the leadership of the staff and assuring them that their concerns will be channeled to the appropriate quarters for redress. However, the staff group says the grace period for the board has elapsed without any positive outcome, hence the partial withdrawal of their services. The chairman of the Senior Staff Association of Netco branch, William Kwame Asari, spoke to Citi News.
The board informed us that the problem in Netco is financial, it's not engineering. You know, this business we do is power distribution. We're told that our problems are financial. They are not engineering, so they are bringing somebody with some financial background to help turn around our finances. If you take our financial performance within 2019 up to date, it has deteriorated. In fact, our what we call our cash flow situation is terribly bad. If you take our finances as of September, look, it's terribly bad. To the extent that we are unable to pay our third parties. In Bolga, for example, our contractors went on strike because work that they have done on behalf of Netco from January up to December, we were not able to pay. To the extent that they had to lay down their tools. That is how bad our performance has been. In terms of our revenue mobilization, everybody knows that prepaid meters aid in revenue mobilization. The whole of last year, check from Techiman, Sunyane, Bolgawa, not a single prepaid meter was deployed. Rather, the meters that we had removed when we brought the smart meters were the meters we were washing and cleaning to send back to our customers. That is the state of Netco.
He further clarified the type of services affected by the industrial action.
We are reporting to our offices. Any service that we can render in our offices, we will do. Any service that will take us to go to the field, we are not going, except emergencies. Emergency, for example, when a pole is broken, a line is down, there's power inside, it poses danger to our customers. So we will go and isolate the power and then revert back to our office. We are not delighted at the current state, but we need to take drastic actions to ensure that there is change in leadership to save Netco ultimately. Ultimately, the customer will be the beneficiary. We are hoping that the appointing authority will listen and then meet our demands so that this will not travel beyond the current action. But we have had some requests from the Minister of Energy for an engagement, which will take place in Accra tomorrow. We are hoping that the powers that be will listen, because Netco is really collapsing. Look, we operate in 2/3 of this country, and if you look at our financial state now, to the extent that meters that we buy to measure the power that we sell, we are unable to buy. Even ladders, basic tools for operations, we are unable to procure them. It's a serious issue.
Meanwhile, management of Netco has issued a statement restraining staff from further commenting on the issues as it may impact ongoing negotiations.
Earlier this year, the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNIT, in consultation with the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, in line with Section 80 of the National Pensions Act 2008, Act 766, indexed monthly pensions upwards by 25% for the year. Per the increment, all pensioners on the SNIT pension payroll as at 31st December 2022 will have their monthly pension increased by a fixed rate of 19% plus a redistributed flat amount of 73 cedis 58 pesos. The effective increase in pensions would therefore range from about 19% for the highest earning pensioner to almost 44% for the lowest earning pensioner. Accordingly, the highest earning pensioner as of 31st December 2022 will receive almost 170,000 Ghana cedis per month, while the lowest earning pensioner as of December 31st, 2022 will have his or her monthly pension increased from 300 Ghana cedis to 430.58 Ghana cedis in 2023. But some stakeholders aren't too impressed with the last update from SNIT. The Africa Center for Retirement Research insists there must be a further upward adjustment in the minimum pensions payable to low contributing pensioners. The center indicated that the figure is too small to sustain any pensioner in the current economic conditions, but SNIT insists it's only playing by the books. Dr. John Oforiten Kran is the Director General of the pension scheme.
The Pensions Act is very clear. In fact, Section 77 of Act 766 is very clear on what people's entitlements, pension entitlements should be when they go on pension. And so that talks about the entitlements of people who are currently working, and then they go on pension. So the Act is very clear on what those calculations should be and what the payments should be. Okay? What you put in determines what you get. Now, in the past, because of, I guess, some agitations about perceived low pensions through an administrative fiat, SNIT said that they were going to pay to the extent that we calculate your pension pursuant to the Act, and your pension fell below a certain amount, your legitimate pension fell below a certain amount, there was going to be a subsidy, right, to bring it up. Now, that seems all well and good, but it got its own problems. It got its own problems because it creates a bit of a moral hazard for people to want to do the barest minimum and get entitled to a very low pension, because the way you get entitled to a pension is you must have done at least 15 years of contributions. And then stop. Wait for several years till they turn 60. By that time, inflation has eaten the value of whatever they contributed away. Claim pension and say, okay, I'm now entitled to some high amount that has been set. It is not healthy for the sustainability of the scheme.
The DG further encouraged the public to make the effort to contribute significantly to the scheme if they hope to receive substantial pensions during their retirement.
That is why we have embarked on a public education campaign for people to understand that you can be the captain of your own ship. I've just told you that there is somebody who's going to earn about 160-something thousand odd Ghana cedis per month with the same pension scheme. So the pension scheme is not broken. Those are the rules. But those are the people, that high amount was because the person was on PNDC law 247, which didn't have a cap, all right, on the maximum insurable earnings. 3 days ago, I announced that under Act 766, there is a maximum insurable earning cap that was introduced. And 3 days ago, I announced that we've reviewed the cap from 35,000 Ghana cedis a month to 42,000 Ghana cedis a month. Right? So that's 42,000 Ghana cedis of your income that you can come to insure. So if you know that if you contribute and come and insure the incomes that you are legitimately earning, and when you go on pension, this is what you're going to get, then you focus on making sure that you are coming to insure all your earnings instead of trying to game the system and get the absolute barest minimum and then when you go on pension, come and complain that your pension is small, and then take advantage of some artificial minimum that SSNIT may have set some time ago.
Trading activities have evolved around with time, with many local economies seeking to maximize profits and position itself on the international front. But there appears to be some lapses in the transactions which needs to be addressed. The World Trade Center exists to conduct inbound and outbound trade missions, capacity building, workshops and seminars, networking events and B2B activities that contribute to the growth and prosperity of local economies. Speaking at the media launch of the 53rd General Assembly of the World Trade Center Association in Accra, under the theme Towards African Economic Integration and Enhanced Global Presence, Tugbe Afede the 14th underscored the need for Africans to work to close the gaps in its share of global gross domestic product.
Before COVID-19, 6 of the world's 10 fastest growing economies were in Africa. Our continent boasts of 60% of all arable but uncultivated land in the world, and we also boast of 30% of all known mineral resources, and etc. Everywhere in Africa we see opportunity and potential, yet Africa accounts for less than 3% of both global GDP and global trade. If we have about 17% of the world's population, 20% of the world's landmass, and 6% of land that is arable but uncultivated. And if we boast 30% of world's mineral resources, and yet we account for only 3% of global GDP and trade, it tells how much opportunity there is for us to grow. Going by our mineral deposits or resources alone, we should be commanding about 30%.
On her part, the Director of Member Services at the World Trade Center Association, Crystal Eden, said the association promotes business diversity to enhance development among member cities.
The WTCA was born of the idea that doing business around the globe should be as easy as doing business down the street. This is exactly the purpose of the WTCA General Assembly, to provide the opportunity to connect globally and to prosper locally. Diversity helps our members fill the needs of their local economic ecosystems in ways that, though slightly different from one another, create a global network of influencers that aid in the rise of cities as economic engines. And it is through our members that the WTCA stimulates trade and investment opportunities for commercial property developers, airports, free trade zones, economic development agencies, and small to medium-sized businesses looking to connect globally and prosper locally.
Ghana's unemployment rate continues to get worse in recent years. Analysts have admonished people who find it difficult to secure job opportunities to venture into agriculture since it offers more options. Although many Ghanaians are into agriculture, they have not fully explored the wide range of benefits that accompany it. Stakeholders have largely attributed this to the lack of relevant skills needed to achieve the highest possible yields or outcomes. It is in line with this that SNV Netherlands Development Organization and its partners, such as the EU, want farmers in Ghana who do not have the requisite training to be adequately resourced to enhance job prospects.
It's actually as a result of annual market scans that Green Project conducts every year. And based on the data, the findings we got from the market scan, and also we had consultative meetings with our service recipients, which also confirmed that practical training is very relevant and urgent for the service recipients. And this is because majority of them lack foundational skills, and also in their communities or the districts where we implement our projects, there are very limited opportunities because there are no industries. So they find it difficult finding formal employment opportunities or even self-employment because they lack the technical skills. So SNV, one of our key sectors that we focus on is agriculture. So because of that, we collaborated with Kwadaso Agric College to conduct General Agri Certification Program, which today we are graduating the service recipients. The program covers actually different aspects of agriculture. So when it comes to crop, agro-processing, climate smart agric, poultry, and then we also included financial literacy, so that the service recipients would see agric also as a business.
With agriculture offering more viable opportunities and receiving support from various development partners, the Senior Skills Development Officer of SNV Ghana, Awuni Dramani Musa, is urging various assemblies to take advantage of such initiatives to improve capacity and better the lives of farmers in their respective areas.
We have now realized that it is worth going into agriculture. That is the sure way of getting employment. We have so many programs around. We have SMB has rolled out so many programs, and we are actually working with the municipals and district assemblies. So when they go there, they can access this information and these programs. We expect that the ministries and then the municipal and district assemblies that we are working with, they will also carry it out when the project is finished. So that is what we are looking at, because always the development partners come in, they come and support us with programs. When they go, the program die with them. This is not good. So we need the support of the local authorities to always take advantage of it and then roll it out to reach out to many people.
Some beneficiaries of the initiative are confident of being able to practice the various climate resilience strategies they have been trained on while creating job opportunities for them.
We have learned a lot about the climatical changes which we experience it now, and then the use of chemicals which destroying our lands and our water bodies. So, and the SNV, the teachers, or we taught much about using, what do you call it, the natural things that we can use to improve our farming system. So I think I have learned a lot, and I think I also use that one to encourage a lot of farmers for us to go away of the chemicals and then go into organic manure and then organic farming.
So with the training I had and centered on SNV thematic area energy, I've been able to have a startup that's providing an alternate for cutting trees for charcoal. Yes, so we are going the sustainable way.
What exactly are you into? What's the alternative?
Okay. So the startup is about providing alternate solution for cutting trees for charcoal. So as we all know, charcoal, we cut trees to make them, but with our solution, we are just using agricultural waste, which is kind of causing a menace in the society. So currently we use maize, coconuts and sawdust, like any agricultural waste we find in our environment.
Hello, welcome to Footprint. My name is Samuel Atamensa. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be zooming in straight into our conversation.